haven't gone through, a course of legal education or program. So, but many of us will not be, So those who are lawyers, and they are here, they can understand. Those who are not, they may, from affiliation or from experiences, also be familiar with some of these things we are going to do. And the simple reason being that we are dealing with business. With a class of about 200 or almost 200, you can trust that so many of us are familiar with business. They are in business. They are business manager in their own right. And they have experiences. They have experiences about this is about. So the experiences are important for them and for the class because they will be able to participate as adequately as possible and then share their experiences. And the class, they also have something to benefit from their experience. The appeal regarding this is for all of us to have that readiness to participate as as the opportunity arises. Okay, that is that one. Now, um, I have asked the class captain of the full time to share with all the other streams the course outline, and I'm assuming that the course outline is shared also to this stream, business law. So if that is the case, if my assumption is correct, then that is all right. But if that is not the case, please let me know. My information is that every stream has it. Now, when we are dealing with, then it's also, as I said, I've, I've, I've emphasized attendance, I've emphasized participation. Now, so what I'm going to go in, is that when you look at business law in our law program in the faculty, 3 years out of the 5-year program we run are dedicated to business law in so many varieties. In year 2, we do general contract law that provides the foundation for every business negotiation or agreement, okay, or business interaction. So I'm getting information that you don't have the course outline. Don't worry. When I'm done,
we have the course outline.
And someone is saying it does not. Okay.
It has been shared.
Okay, thank you. Now, so we spent a whole year on contract law as foundation to business law in general, and contract law 1, law 2, first and second semester. Year 3, we do commercial transactions involving agency and sale of good transactions. So and then year 5, we focus on company law and partnership. So you can see that it's a fully loaded program that is run for 3 years in the law faculty. But here you are, miracle workers, so to say, that we want to teach, a program of 3 years in just one semester. That is really very serious, but it's doable. And the doability results from the fact that we are conscious of your position. We are not particularly law students, and therefore we have streamlined what we think is important that you know to give you some acquaintanceship with business law, and also to have some working understanding about the dynamics of business law. And if we're able to do that, at least you have a first aid in expertise in business law, and then that will take you to your to your professional I mean the lawyer that is going to assist or take it over from there. The awareness is very important. If you are aware of the issues, although you don't know, if you are aware that there are issues in every negotiation or even documentation regarding business, but you don't know what those issues are, at least that awareness will take you to who understands all the dynamics and put all of the things together for you. That is also a success story. If you don't know at all and you run into signing agreements that you don't understand, that really is a problem. It's a big, big problem. And it is this kind of interaction that will at least empower you, create necessary awareness for you, and then be able to move ahead as you do this. So what are we then looking at to achieve with the kind of outline we have? First is to introduce, this particular course, and that is business law. And when we talk about introduction, we look at business law from two perspectives, major perspectives. One is the vehicle through which businesses are conducted. That is for those who want to own business or who are owners of business. What are the vehicles? There are vehicles in owning businesses. And then the second part of it, we look at the institution that regulates, business transaction, which is the law, the legislation passed by our lawmakers. And there are diverse legislation in this where we are going to pick on some of them and then introduce us to it. So, for instance, if you are looking at a commercial transaction or sale of goods, there are legislation for sale of goods act. They call it sale of goods act. If you are looking at partnership, there is a partnership law that regulates partnership, whether at state level or even under the Companies and Allied Matters Act, the company's legislation. And we also have, the CAMA, the company's legislation that regulates the running and the operations of companies, that takes you to incorporating and stuff like that. So those are the laws. And how not being a lawyer is a challenge to want to know about these laws. But there's a way we are looking at it to make it accessible to you. We have studied the provision types of all laws relating to or regulating interpersonal business relationships. And we do find that those laws have some provision types. And if we are able to understand those provision types and their purposes in legislation, perhaps that helps us to have a good handle on this aspect of it. It's a bit technical, but again, there is nothing technical if we're able to communicate the meaning. Then you can relate to it and walk away with it. Now, so those are some aspects that we are going to handle. Now, I will also, and I'm going to come back to it, I just want to take you a little bit further in terms of intro. Then again, having discussed the institutions, the regulations, and the vehicles. Now, in terms of operationalizing business, particularly for those who are business owners, we are going to introduce the concept of agency. It is an ambulatory concept. It's hovering. It is ready to be plugged like a low-hanging fruit, so to say. And if you deploy it, then there is a lot of advantages into agency concept, and it is a concept through which you can actually use to organize your businesses. Now, remember that if you are, if you look around you and think critically at the political level, agency is very key. And that takes you to thinking about the importance of agency, the ubiquity of agency, because everywhere, in business, in politics, in personal relationships, there's agency. So it is in our life at home, it is in our life at work, even we are about the agents we are talking about. So you can actually see this concept in your own life, in your own work you do, sometimes. And so you're able to reconcile your attitude towards the expectations of your principal. There are two parties to an agent relationship: the principal and the agent. The principal is the one that appoints someone to do his work, which he himself can do, but he has no time to do it. So it is efficiency in the sense that what you cannot do, somebody else can do it for you in business. So long as there is a template of agreement, then you are free. That time you could have, that opportunity cost, is available. That of, you can't do this, but you can. I mean, you can let this go while you do something else, and it saves cost. It allows you to be fairly omnipresent, in quote, in the sense that as a single person in business, you can own a business that is called sole proprietorship. But it doesn't mean that it has to be you alone doing this work. You can own your business and headquartered in Lagos. You can open up branches in about 5 states or 6 states in your geopolitical zone. While you won't be there, you can appoint agents now to run those other branches for you. And then you create a reporting system, or what we say, internal control system, where there is good communication and all of those things. And once you are getting feedback and you are monitoring and you are giving instructions, and there is feedback on the instructions, then you are good to go. That is how good agency is. You have had situations where you have manufacturers that are abroad, they have, they have manufactured a particular product. They are not familiar with Nigeria, and you are lucky to interface with them. You offer yourself to be their sole agent. That is, you will be the one representing them and selling their products in Nigeria. There is market, and if you can win that, it's a lot of money for you. All those things happen. Now, look at our government, the federal the democracy we run. It is predicated on the concept of agency. You can see, I'm going into this a little bit so that you see when we talk about agency in business, it is very central. So I will spend some time on this particular one so that they can sink it a bit. You may not master it, but at least you can have a working idea of the significance, of agency and how effective it can be, how efficient it can be, and how problematic it can also be. Because, it is good, but it is also bad. Now, when you look at our political system, our president is our agent because we appointed him or him into office. And theoretically, we have the power to vote him out. If our votes, we can't. We can vote him out and vote in somebody else to replace him. So we can look at our performances. What has our life been in the last 2 years? What is it going to be in the next 2 years? Are we happy? Are we unhappy? Or are we okay? Just managing. So is it, given all that he has done or his achievement, does it deserve a second chance? It is for us to decide. That is how you appoint and you fire your agent. Okay? Then you look at all the lawmakers, the senators and the representatives in Abuja National Assembly, they are all our agents. In fact, those ones boast a whole lot to say that they are the representatives of the people. Who do they represent? Do they hold meetings at their wards and all of those things? Town hall meetings? Are they accountable? And right now, the other day, we read that there was about 11,000, maybe approximately 12,000 projects that were embedded into the 2025 budget, and the worth of those projects is 6.9 trillion, let's say 7 trillion. Our total budget is about 54 trillion. So if 7 trillion is already, padded into it and it is signed, then where was the budget? So what was the government doing, if 7 trillion is already on it? Those are the kind of problems you encounter in agency if there is no control or monitoring, because you cannot have an agent who cannot monitor. Otherwise, your business is doomed. So when you hear the allowances of lawmakers and then all of these padded, concepts that have been brought into all these systems, this is the typical problem that is rampant with agency. And in a business circle at your own level, we describe them as as agency cost. So agency produces reports, positive results, but they also impose or create agency cost. The governors, they are all agents. The lawmakers at the state, they are all agents. But virtually every governor now, when they leave office, we hear stories about somebody has about 92 billion, 82 billion, and then EFCC is chasing them everywhere. You ask yourself, oh, so why would they have that kind of money? It is the problem of agency where there is no proper control. So if you are going to have an agent, as useful as it is, monitoring is very important. Monitoring is very important. We can always distinguish the political setting from the personal settings. But as problematic as it is, what you have in the political setting is the macrocosm. The micro cosm part of it is the one you will see at interpersonal level between you and the agent. Now, and then we 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 scale down leaving the political setting to companies. If you register a company today, the law says you must have directors. Those directors are the ones empowered to run companies. Okay? However, because they are directors, they are also, the law describes them as agents. Because incorporated companies are they are predicated on agency concept. Those directors and other officers are agents. How well do they perform? Are they doing well? Are they being properly monitored? Or are they creating problems? You've heard about companies failing. If any company were to fail, and we've had experiences of many of them having failed. During Sanusi, about 9 banks, were their licenses were withdrawn because they had failed, a problem has arisen, 9 of them. Then not too long ago, during Buhari or Emefiele, some banks too, were failing. Their licenses were stopped. Why are they failing? Because the agents that were running those companies, were creating excessive costs and problems for these companies. These are the problems of agency. But it cannot be otherwise because the advantages of agency are numerous. For instance, all of us are members or shareholders of these companies, public companies, but we don't manage them. So we are able to invest in it and then, create, focus on our own separate business while somebody else is running this this business for us. And at the end of the year, we are hoping to get dividends. Some dividends are really good, depending on the company, but somebody is the one doing it. Those are the agents. So if there is lack of monitoring, there will be problems. Okay, you and I can't monitor because we don't even think we have enough voting powers to, effect anything good. We'll leave it for those who own big money or investment in these companies to monitor the managers and stuff like this. So that is just that. Again, you come down to partnership. Partnership is a vehicle, just like like companies, through which you can run a business. But every partnership is an agent of the other partner. And the agent, being an agent, whatever he does will bind the business, just as you can also bind the business. The two of you must work together. So, what is the problem of agency in partnership? As useful as it is, remember that the two of you could agree that, okay, there will be an active managing partner, while the other partner will be maybe sleeping partner, because he doesn't or she cannot afford to be active. So long as there is the reward system is clearly defined, there is no problem. So long, because you have to negotiate all of this agree on it, define the relationship. Once there is a good template, then you are good to go. Okay. Then I've talked briefly about the sole proprietor. A sole proprietor, we own a business. It doesn't mean that the business will be located forever in one spot. You can expand. You can expand. You can sit at the headquarters to you create branches and you appoint agents, and agents take all of this to go. Now, as I'm explaining agency across businesses, I've been talking about the problems mostly that they create, agents. But how do you address the cost of agency? The best way to address it is to ask you your reward system. Anytime you have agents in your home, in your business, and the reward system is poor, and I'm talking about payment, reward, salaries, emolument. If they are good, you make the agent happy. The agent feels you. The agent will feel you or see you as him or her. But if the reward system is bad, there's animosity, and you are vesting your business into a hand of someone that is unhappy with you. What do you think will happen? They are going to destroy that business. But if this reward system is good, then there is trust, there is happiness, there is motivation to even put in, more energy to get the best result, and then you create a reward system that if you hit this milestone, your salary goes up to a particular point. If you're able to hit this particular, what is that your language now? I mean, you are able to hit a particular turnover. This is how it's going to be. If you can reach, so you can measure a true turnover, calculation or true profit. So if the profit of the company is to reach so this will be your quota. If it is by turnover, you define those things and you pay where the base salary will be good. And then you can build on it because you've given an agenda of improvement, of happiness and all that. So you motivate. But when you are motivating an agent, you must also be monitoring. Because if the agents are aware that you are not monitoring or you cannot monitor, they will take over your business. They will take over your business. So monitoring is important. If you are monitoring, you force the agent to invest in what you call bonding cost. He bonds himself to your business, and that is putting in all his energy. You go to any length. When you're talking about the guy who go to any length for this business, then he's investing in bonding cost. And there is no way that there won't be any improvement in these circumstances. I mean, the social aspect of it, at the level, our civil servants are agents. They are agents. They work for government. Are they well paid? They have, they spend 30 years or 35 years, as the case may be, they retire. To what? To what? What is the reward system? And you are asking them not to steal. And they have children. And a society where there is even no limit to how many children we can have. So, and those children like to go to school, they have to feed. And they look at their salary, and you are saying that they should be happy. They will not be happy. And what would they do? They will create more agency cost for you. Problems. They will create it for you. They will create it for government. Remember the case of P&ID. For those of us who are still, alive to that case, who still remember, that was a case in which some companies from Ireland came to this country, to come and do, if you allow me to say, 419, that they are going to convert our dry gas into power in the South Nigeria. And then we entered into agreement with them through our own agents. We signed it. But somehow it was easy for them to say we breached the agreement and they took us to arbitration. What happened? Before we knew Jack, they have awarded 6 billion to us. Before we knew anything, interest have taken it to 9 million. Before we turn right or left, it has become 12. And we are facing a final judgment for 12 billion, 11 billion. And then as Nigeria woke up, running up and down to now look into the case to defend it and all of that, we were lucky that we were let off the hook. And I want to believe you still remember this case. We were supposed to be burdened with 9 or 11 billion dollars and be paid to some crooks. And I ask you, Nigeria had representatives in negotiating those agreements. And because they are agents of Nigeria, that agreement will bind Nigeria. So if they have considered to certain loopholes, that is how agents destroy principles. Okay? So it happens. The policemen, they are agents. What is their payment structure? Are they happy? Is their salary enough to earn them a living, decent wages? Can they live by it? So, but what are the story? One policeman, shooting someone dead because they were chasing 200 naira, 100 naira, and all of those things. They're angry, and we also arm them. So they, I mean, they, they are ready to go. To kill anybody, and they do kill. Okay, those are the problems we have in the agency. But again, as I said, it is a concept in business that is deployable. It is a very, 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 very effective system of business management, business supervision, and all of those. And it is a very ubiquitous concept useful at the, at the political level, at the business level. I've taken you through all those businesses. Is there. Even at the international level, okay? We use agency, you know, as a social contrivance to sort our problems. How many people you want to relate with you cannot say your mind. You get somebody who can say your voice, be your voice to convey your desires and all of those things. It's agency, and many good relationships have come out from that system. Many ugly ones are also turned out. But that is how important it is. Now, that is about the vehicle, the concept of agency. We have seen the vehicle through which we can do business, sole proprietorship, how agency can help us multiply it. We've seen partnership, how when you are a partner, you have a partner to discuss with, to strategize with, to share capital, contribution to share profit and all of those things. And you are one or each other's agent. But when you are dealing with partnership, there are problems because of the legal nature of partnership. What you do can bind me, what I do can bind you. Then it is important that, and our debt, the debt of our business is our own personal debt because we are the business is ours. It's us. So what A does binds B, what B does binds C, and in partnership. Okay, so that is why it's very, very important to have very good agreement in partnership negotiation. You negotiate your relationship. Don't keep quiet. You cannot be in business if you cannot talk your mind out. If you cannot negotiate, you have no business in get somebody else, to do all of those things. Okay, and people get smart in partnership. You hide your own property. I'm foolish enough not to know I need to hide. Our business is in debt. We have creditors, and the creditors see that Mr. B's property, they can ascertain it, so they go for him and collect all the monies that the business owns. So Mr. B will now have to go and look for Mr. A to come and compensate or at least contribute towards the debt. But you can only, hold want to access that you know. Meanwhile, he's busy hiding his own property. That creates problems in a relationship that is supposed to be premised or predicated on confidence, on trust, and all of those things. We are still hiding property for each other. So those are the kind of problems. So having gone through this, I talked about the institutions, the laws, and we see that every laws that regulates businesses, interpersonal relationships, they have certain provisions type. Three of them are discernible. Some provisions of the law regulating businesses are mandatory. Why? What are they? So what are the mandatory provisions? How do we identify it? We're going to start discussing from next week, but I'm just trying to introduce all of this to you. A lot to introduce, but at least one or two things we stick with you this evening and over the weekend. Now, we have some provisions. So some are mandatory, and the essence of them being mandatory is mandatory provisions are standard setting. Sometimes they are in law or in legislation to protect the public. So they standardize it, you know, like a bottom line for certain concepts within the relationship you are in. So it's important. Then some provision as they should be are empowering. They give you options on what to do. You may do this, you may not do this if you are in this situation. That flexibility, that option is very important in business because at the end of the day, business is supposed to, be founded on negotiation, on agreement, and if the law regulating it are not flexible, then it becomes very expensive. The cost is high, and it is very, very difficult, but if they are there, then there are always, the parties can go around problems, and then have other options to pursue. Then the other one is what we call default provisions. Default provisions are many. This is because the lawmakers sitting at the headquarters of the state or the country regulating our private lives, they are very distant from us. Yeah, but they have some knowledge they have acquired through research and stuff of the issues that often come up in these areas. They are not sure. And because their laws are applying to so many people, millions of people, so they cannot afford to make all the laws mandatory. They cannot afford to just leave it as optional. So they create a default provision. A default provision are those provisions that gives you a base rule, that this is the best rule we can give you in this circumstance, business people. But having given you a base rule, that provision will give you an empowerment to customize it, to change that rule in case you don't like it. And they are smart to do so because they know that if they give you just one base rule that is going to affect or apply to millions of people, it is what we call one size fits all. One size, a rule cannot fit all the partners or the people in businesses without allowing them to consider whether they will like it, and if they don't like, to change it. So every default provision has a base rule. Every default provision has an empowering rule to change the rule that we call the base rule and make their own law, their own rule for that particular issue that is being addressed. Now, but if you do not know, and this is where it becomes tricky for those who are not lawyers, if you don't know about these rules and you just run through your life and you agree without understanding the empowerment you are given, look at this rule. If you don't like it, change it. There are some phrases that indicates what those rules, represent. When problems now come and you are finding it difficult, that is when it will now haunt you. That, oh, you should have changed this rule. If you didn't want it, or it doesn't fit your circumstance, but you didn't change it, and not having changed it, you are bound by the rule. And that's where regret comes from. That's where anger will now swell up. And then we start looking for how to hold one another in business. And those who kill in business, who harm others, their business partners, why do you think sometimes these things happen? It's because they run into disappointment. They feel hurt because of their ignorance. And the other party who is clever, is taking advantage so they believe. And then they start taking laws into their hands, thinking about how to resolve problems in their own way. And when they do in that way, people get hurt. Okay? So there are many people that will scars in business because of this kind of stuff. So, and these four provisions are like what I can compare with our telephone's factory setting. Factory setting meaning that all the phones we have come with the settings from the factory. But they also empower you to change the setting to your own setting. You customize it to your preference. That is why after 2, 3 months we bought telephone, things start changing. The desktop of your phone becomes something else because you have customized it. Maybe when you first buy it, you have your family, your children hugging each other. Later on, it's different. When you look at the telephones of your kids in school, just entering university, you see that it's just you, the family, and the siblings. After 3 years, you go and look at the telephone again. You wonder whether this is your child, because the thing have changed. They have moved on from the factory setting because they now know how to use the phone. They can they can post so many things there in their own taste. Mom, I don't like that part of setting. This is my own preference. And you cannot do this. No, leave that alone. It is for me. So that is how these laws operate. If you don't like what it is stated in the default provisions, change it. You have that empowerment. But if you don't change it, the only way you can operate the phone is to stick by the factory setting. Just as in the law, the only way is to stick with the underlying rule, the base rule in those provisions. It's very interesting. It's an exercise we're going to do so that at least everybody will participate. It opens our consciousness to some level, and it could be fun. We'll get to it. Okay. So that part we discuss. Then we come back to contract itself now. Contract is the foundation of businesses. There is no business without contracting. And when you are contracting, you are negotiating. And you cannot arrive at an agreement without those negotiations, following the rules of contract, offer, acceptance, consideration, intention to entail, and all of those things. There is counter offer, there is the counter offer, all of those things. Ultimately, we agree. And once we agree, we document it. And then it's done. So negotiation is key. When you are getting into any relationship, negotiate it. Negotiate it and stipulate your preferences. Because those preferences are your law. You sign it, it becomes law. And that is what the court is going to enforce for you. Many people don't know that the court loves your own law. Don't rely on the law of lawmaker. Make your own agreement within this framework of the law. And when you're able to arrive at that your law, and it is signed, you cannot complain because you signed it. It is your agreement. It is your agreement, and it is your agreement. As basic as that. So, but some people are very, very shy to negotiate. Even in marital or relationships, people are going to marry. They are not talking. They are relying on Holy Spirit, to guide rather than to look back, investigate first, because you cannot really negotiate some relationship without investigation. Why are you even entering into contract? Is this somebody you want to do business with? not to talk about marriage. So, and do you create time to understand the dynamics? Who is he? Who is she? What are your value system? Are we compatible? And some people can will compatibility into framework. He is my spec, so everything must go well. It's not never the spec doesn't make things go well. I believe I can do business with this man because of what? That the person is good looking doesn't mean that he's a good business person or he will be a good partner. So, and some of us, without those kind of investigation, or paying attention to know, ascertain, he have decorum, is he caring, is he abusive, manipulative, and all of those things. We just run through it in life. And it is from experience that we begin to learn the repercussion of our insincerity to ourselves. So contract is key. It defines in every relationship you have to contract. There is no way you can buy without haggle. The interesting part is that contract can come about through many forms. It can be oral, by words of mouth, you can agree. It can be documented, put them in writing, specify your terms and conditions. The other person, you will discuss with the other person. Ultimately, you agree. You all have a clean agreement and you sign off to it. And sometimes it can arise from conduct of the parties. If our conduct is such that the law will infer that we have contracted. I supplied you. I discussed that I'm selling a foreign rice that they just imported and they're very good. It's 150. If you don't mind, I can just bring it to. I asked my dad to come and drop it. You just look at it, just open it a little bit. There are instruments through which you can just poke and then come out and you can see. And the driver dropped it. We didn't get to see. By the time we see, ultimately, the quarter of the rice is gone. They have been cooking it and eating it. Without any other thing, there is contract because the product has been consumed. So it is taken that you agree to pay. Even when you have not agreed on any price, the law will assume that you will pay what is reasonable in the circumstances. And after all, the market prices through which we can, benchmark how much that bag of rice will cost. So that we be anti-cut enforce that. So conduct is very important, and it can lead to, contract. Then you look at the forms through which you can agree or create contract. It's oral, is by conduct and it's in writing. And you look at what is the most efficient way to contract. It has to be the one form through that allows you to prove what the parties agreed to in case there's a disagreement. And that is the one that is documented and signed. So these things are very, 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 very important. Very, very important to document your agreement. Don't leave it at the stage of we talked about it, because yes, if we all have integrity, if we have integrity, yes, we'll be able to reaffirm what we agree. But once it's in business, integrity, people are able to abandon that and then start lying about things. But once it is signed by the two parties and you present it, the court of law will enforce what you have agreed because that is your law. So so being in writing, a contract that is in writing allows you to prove, what you have agreed on, and of course the terms of the contract and the fact of, so that it is difficult for anybody to contest. You can't introduce anything that is not written. It's difficult. So people will want, and we will recommend that anytime you have to enter into agreement in negotiation in business, please document it. Let the other party sign something on it. Even at some point when it is not conclusive, but we have agreed on certain things, let the parties sign off on those ones. The two parties will sign your disclaimer, even put it there. And we are even talking about building agreement now that is not totally finalized, so that we won't be going back and forth. If we have documented and signed off where we stopped last week, we continue from there. We'll be able to save some time and then save some money. Well, time is money, so we don't waste too much time on it, but yet perfectly we document everything. It's very, very important. And you are going to face negotiation when you come to sale of goods. Some people, they are builders, they buy cement, they buy building materials, they buy, some people, you know, they run restaurants, all manner of wine, that are imported, they need them. Some people just cook, restaurant, they want to be number one in town. So you can imagine the kind of cuisine that is out for the public. So is it goat? Is it cow? Is it fish? Is it fisherman soup? All of those things. So you must have customers. You must build relationship around this to create expectation, so that you can perform well. And once you are getting to that, there is what to call the cost of dealings. They know your priorities. They know what you want. They will supply you. And if they are not going to supply, they are always begging. I mean, they will appeal to you. And so all of those things are good for good relationship and for business, but it's because you've been able to maintain all of this. What is hardly discussed in business is integrity. It is important for parties in business to have integrity in any relationship. It doesn't have to be business alone. Even at home, you must have integrity. You cannot be in and out, not reliable. If you say you are coming in 10 minutes time, that's 3 days, nobody has seen you. There's no integrity. If you say your word is your bond, it's never your bond because you don't even remember you said anything. Okay? So that one is money's worth. It keeps customers steady with you and it drives them away if you don't have it. So ethics of business is also there. Business ethics. If you lack the ethics of dependability, people are gone because you are not alone. There are other people they can. Because integrity brings peace of mind. And because business involves money, even your pulse, your blood pressure can rise and fall depending on where you are in your business. So some people with a very stable BP, because they have good partners they are working with, or customers they are working with. Well, some, it is always very high because they are not sure, until it's over, it's never over with them and that is so simply because there are bad partnership or partners or customers they have in their business relationships. Okay. So again, we are going to leave part, so we will unpack the contents of contracting, what it means, negotiation. But what do you negotiate in contract? How do you negotiate it? The answer is that it depends on the subject matter of that contract. It is what you are dealing with that is making you seek someone to negotiate with that will determine the nature of negotiation. If you want to build a house for somebody, you have to, your 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 negotiation will be woven around delivery, around your spec, your 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 building plan, your architectural drawings, your engineering drawing, electrical drawing, and all of those things. Something like close to EPC. It's either you want to EPC meaning engineering part of it, procurement, and then construction. That is EPC. So there are some relationships that will lead you to is if an EPC matter where you have to negotiate. And that will take us to what I call PPP, public-private partnership, where you have private entrepreneurs bringing their money, their expertise, their managerial capacity, taking over the risk of business, funding it, and then working with government as strategic partner now. Such often comes out through all this toll gate matter. If you recall the Lekki the Lagos toll gate, yeah, Lekki, and then the other one from Ikoyi to Lekki phase one. Those are all projects from PPP partnership, and of course and it involves a whole lot of technicalities, drawings, statistics, figures, studies, because a private entrepreneur will bring the idea, Mr. Governor, sir, and we realize that this particular, let us build this road with our money, with our capacity, with our engineering, with our everything, and then concession it to us, we manage it. It's from the tools that we will be able to recoup our money. On paper, it looks good to government because government is not spending money, but they must be very, very agile, alive. Otherwise, they will be taken advantage of. So, what are the issues in this kind of relationships or business? There have to be drawings, specifications of that. About the road, the kind of road they want to build, and there are many types of roads. They have to specify it. The kind of reinforcement they are going to use, they want to specify whether it's just quota or they want to cast it with iron bars and granite and cement, so that it can stand, it can withstand the test of time. All of those specs will be there. Then the not will negotiate it. So when they bring their drawings, the engineers from government will also come and interrogate those drawings. And they say, no, we cannot take this because of the terrain. So they will do the terrain, structure, understand the terrain, and then have a clear idea of what the terrain is and what kind of pavement they want to provide that will last for long. Because again, remember that in this area there is a lot of rainfall, and how are you going to build in an environment that will withstand the test of time with successive continuous rain, and stuff like that. So those are things that has to be taken into account. Then they have put the value of say 20 billion that they want to spend, and they are going to recoup it for the next 40 years. Government will also bring their own experts. Where is your cash flow? We bring in your cash flow, and then they will look at it. What is this cash flow based on? Have you done the vehicular traffic assessment? What's the estimate of cars that are using this particular axis that will come through this toll gate in a day? And what amount of charges or toll, the 200 is 100 you are looking at, so that we can calculate the income per day, and then of course, per month and then per year. And then the other partner to also interrogate those things, look at it. So you can see the negotiation back and forth, back and forth. 20 billion is excessive from our entire, from the cost of materials and all these things. This is what it is. So you negotiate that one down. 20 years or 40 years is too much, because from our estimate, even by your own estimate, within 15 years, you've collected all your money. So why hang around for 40 years and stuff? So they will reconcile these things. Then how long will it take you to deliver this particular project? Again, they also negotiate time. Did you make room for force majeure? What if force majeure prevents you or adds more time beyond our expectation? You include all of those things there. So you negotiate standard, you negotiate liability in case there is failure, you negotiate force majeure, you negotiate the quality of the project itself, you negotiate times of recovery, whether it's 30 or 40, you negotiate the quality of the quality of the specs and all of that. That is how businesses are negotiated. It's a lot of work, but it requires expertise, people that are familiar with the practicality of the area which is the subject matter of that agreement. They are engineers, statisticians, all of those people will come, they will have their input. Ultimately, you will have proper proper agreement that benefits the two parties. Of course, this is where agents also create their own problems because agents are the ones going to negotiate these things. They will pad it, they will pad it, make the figure very artificial at the end of the day because agency problem is always there. If the government agents working for the government is not ready, they are not honest, the other party are going to see them at night. Oh, let's have a meeting. It's that meeting that they are dropping envelope here and there so that they can compromise. These things happen. Okay, it happens. That is agency cost. We talk about it. The agents sometimes they are angels and sometimes they are demons. So and you have to really decide whether you want them as demons all the time or you want them as angels. It depends on you. We talked about it. We do talk about it later. So again, we'll look at those kind of stuff. Then there's what we call equipment leasing. Equipment leasing is a form, through which, contracts are delivered. You have a particular contract to handle. You don't have, you are an expert in your industry, but you don't have the right, like a photography, you don't have the camera that is important. Or you are the movie industry, you need to deliver, a particular, so, you are a producer of movie, so you have to be able to have all that you need, a first-rate camera, that will deliver good voice, good pictorials, and all of those things. You don't have. You don't have to have. If you have in the industry, those who have, why not? You go for equipment leasing, you negotiate all of the things you need to do, and then they are delivered to you. And then you agree on the time, you agree on the rent per day or per month or whatever it is. But sure, and of course, damages. Although if you damage, this is going to be the penalty and stuff like that. If you delay to submit the equipment, these are the damages also you will pay. And it is signed off on. If you play your part, I do my own, everybody is happy. The relationship is efficient because it has delivered happiness to both parties. Efficiency is not in where one party is feeling with the other party or both parties are sad. That is not too good. So this is how all these issues that we are going to be going through, we're starting from next week, and I thought it's important that we take this week, to introduce all of these aspects to and as I said, we take this work seriously. I also believe you do too, be available. We will try and be available on our own part so that we don't spend too much time that is necessary. Of course, there will be exam, whether there's going to be continuous assessment or not, and we all often favor that we will let you know in the course of the class and in the course of lectures or the semester. But of course, we know there will be exam at some point. Okay, so that is just about the introduction about this course. I am available now to hear comments or your questions, very short ones. and after that we call it a day. Yes. So make it short, direct. Say your mind. Let's see, and then I'll respond to the best I can, and then we can work it. Yes. And if you don't have anything to say, maybe you are still shy or you haven't made up your mind that when, then we can still we stay. So if you are going to talk now, you unmute yourself and make your contribution or ask your question, and we can go on from there. So maybe the next 5-10 minutes can do that. If there is no one willing to talk, or you are still reflecting on all this that I've said, that's no problem. Then we will look at it again. Okay. Yes, Lucky can
Good
talk.
evening, sir, Prof. Thank you so very much.
Welcome.
Yes, sir. So when you were talking about managing agents for effective business relationship, you did mention something about ensuring that they invest in bonding cost or something. I don't know if you can shed more light on that, sir.
Yeah, bonding cost is a concept, right? It is a concept that compels the agents to show you why it should be, it is a concept that justifies the agent's retention. There are other people who can do the work, but he wants to show you that, look, stay with me. I am the man for this judge for this period. That is bonding cost. And what that means is that it motivates the agent to show, you know, higher commitment to the work, loyalty and fidelity to your work. Those are bonding costs, and they reduce agency costs. If they are conscious enough to be able to behave in such a way that they can create more trust, or, confidence in themselves, when the principal who has hired them is happy with them, is going to retain them, and therefore, at the end of the day, it is good for both parties, for the principal and for the agent, because the more bonding costs you improve, the less agency costs you create. And if that happens, that also goes back to the principal, and be able to improve your reward system so that you are also happy. Just as you are making him happy, he's also making you happy. And the wages continue to go up, and everybody is happy, smiling all of the time. So just as he says so good things about you as his agent, you are also saying good things about him as your principal. Some things in between are happening for that kind of responses to occur, and that is one good reward system, proper monitoring, and also adequate bonding cost on the part of the agent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. Because it is a human issue. We are dealing with human people, human relations. And the dynamics of that is what you must. They don't business you really bring to the table. We don't understand these things. Yes, Olushi, I thought you are going to to
Are you serious?
ask questions. So who has ask questions to ask? Mm, I'm serious. So if that question is for me, Mr. Seriki, I am serious.
I wasn't talking to you, sir.
I know. Okay, so it is 7:40. I take it that it will be more vibrant the next time we meet. On that note, we should be releasing you and releasing myself. Class captain, get your attendance, and I'm sure you know how to generate those things and send it to me. There's one person that is raising up very late. I will take your question quickly, Oluwasegun. After that, I will be gone for the weekend. Yes.
Okay, good evening, sir. And thank you for the presentation, sir. So, sir, during the course of the lecture, you mentioned that if a contract is entered between the parties, that that if the contract is entered between the parties, that automatically becomes a law. So, what if at that point that the contract is entered, and probably one of the parties entered the contract, maybe because of maybe there was a duress. So, what is the position of the law?
Now, it is when you are making a contract and you have agreed on all the issues, because there are so many types of contract, okay? And it is important that you reduce your contract in writing on what is agreed to, what is demand buying from you, what are the specifications of the product, is there a maker, a particular maker, is there a particular brand? You specify those things. Then what is the cost of it? Who is going to bring it to your place? Are you going to take it from him? Is he going to take it to you? When is it? What is the price to be paid? Is it going to be paid at once? Is it going to be paid instrumentally or twice or just one payment? When once you agree on time, are you going to make time of essence that you must abide by this particular date? And if you don't, then interest will continue. So step by step by step by step. Now, if I am bringing it to you and it happens that something happens on the way, who bears the risk? Who bears the risk? So by the time you are able to cover all the issues that can create problems, you must ensure that everybody, the two parties sign it. They sign off on it. Because most often things happen in between. An argument comes. The man says, well, I'm bringing it, but I was on the road that I was robbed and they took the car away. You say, cannot be my own, no, please. But it's your own car that they, so the question is that who was, did you negotiate the risk in the contract, in performance? If you negotiated it, you'll be okay. If you didn't negotiate it, are you supposed to take up insurance? Who is going to pay for the insurance? Is the cost of the car, is it embedded in the, is the cost of insurance embedded in the cost of the car? All of those things. That is why nothing is easy. You must understand what you are doing. You must understand the riskiness that goes with the area you are contracting around or on. If it is a house you want to build, there is risk. You must identify risk. The risk appetite of the project will affect the cost for the parties, particularly the one that is going to deliver. Are they properly, integrated into all these things? That is how all these things work. So it requires patience, it requires knowledge, and you have to be very careful. That is my response. Okay?
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah. So on that note, I will say happy weekend to everybody. Have a very wonderful weekend. So we will meet by God's grace next week. Good night or good evening, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Good night, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good night, sir. Thank you very
Good
much.
night. Good night. You're welcome. Good night.